UFC Fight Night takes place tomorrow, Saturday, February 22nd, out of Seattle, Washington. The Climate Pledge Arena hosting the main event between Triple Cringe Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong. The co-main event will feature Brendan All-In Allen taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. That is a rematch from several years ago. Let's take a look at all 12 fights on the card tomorrow night. Prelims start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The first match on the night will be Modestas Bukauskas versus Rafael Cerqueira, followed up by Nursultan Ruziboyev taking on newcomer Eric Makanico. It'll then be Veretennikov versus newcomer Austin Vanderford, followed up by Ricky Simon taking on Basharat. Heavy favorite on the night, Mansour Abdul Malik takes on newcomer Nick Klein. Andre Touchy-Feely will battle with Melky Costa. And to wrap up the prelims, it will be Ian Cutelaba versus Ibo Aslan. The main card sets off with Alonzo Menefield taking on newcomer Julius Walker. That is 4 guys making their UFC debut tomorrow night. Keep that in mind. The Lord Assassin himself takes on Melsik Bagdasaryan. And then a very interesting matchup in Rob Font versus Gene Matsumoto. The co-main will be All-In Brendan Allen versus Fluffy Hernandez, their rematch from 2018. I don't think this match will look anything like it did then. We're going to find out. And in the main event, the Triple Cringe himself, Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong. This card has gone through several changes over the past week and a half. I felt a lot more confident the first time I saw the card without all these new faces on them. But nevertheless, I'm going to give you my predictions. Let's go. The first match on the night, Modestas Bukauskas versus Rafael Cerqueira. I saw a 5-minute highlight reel on Rafael Cerqueira earlier in the week, and I encourage you to go watch this 5-minute highlight reel that I saw, because you will see the prime example of someone having a padded record. That 11-1 record, this guy was kicking cans and kicking fat guys in the liver. I'm not even kidding. Go check it out. Modestas, you better get this done. You're my pick for the first fight on the night. Nursultan Ruziboyev versus Eric Makanico is next. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. I didn't see much on Makanico. He's making his debut. Very few clips I could find. And from what I could see, I mean, what could I really take from that? Ruziboyev, my second choice on the night. Real easy. Austin Vanderford versus Nikolai Veretennikov. Austin making his debut. There are 4 guys making their UFC debut. I think I mentioned that already. And what to do with this one? Another match where I'm kind of like, well, don't have much data on Veretennikov. I know he had that split decision versus Barlow about 6 or 7 months ago. It was 6 months ago. And he looked decent in that. And you know what? If I hadn't had that, I just would have picked him simply because his last name ends in OV. Seriously, OV, EV on those names, 90% of the time you're winning. I'm not even kidding. Ricky Simon versus Javid Basharat. Here's a match where I think a lot of people are, they're going Basharat. I'm not a big fan of Basharat. I'm not a believer in Basharat. After that last performance that he had, who was that against? I'm trying to remember. It was Zahabi, okay. And then you see Ricky Simon with that 3-fight losing skid. But you know what? Those are high-quality opponents he lost to. Ricky Simon is not a joke. And I think Ricky Simon is not going to try to take 4 losses in a row. I believe Ricky Simon will get it done. He is my first dog pick on the night. Moving on to the newcomer Nick Klein versus Mansour Abdul Malik. Malik, a minus 1,200 favorite currently on DK. I don't think anybody should be more than a 10-1 favorite. That's just crazy. I mean, talk about inflating numbers. I mean, anyone remember Peyton Talbot not too long ago? But this is a completely different matchup. I mean, Nick Klein, I've seen his highlights on the Contender Series. I'm not impressed. Mansoor should get the job done. He should. But let's find out. This next fight, hard one for me to call. I mean, how do you not want to pick a guy who calls himself Touchy when his last name is Feely? Andre Feely getting it on versus Melky Costa. I think this is a situation where Andre is going to have the advantage with the hands, and I think Melky's going to have a slight advantage with his jiu-jitsu, and I think that's going to be Melky's key to victory here. He's going to try to wrap up Andre, and let's see if he gets it done. He is my pick on the night. Moving right on to Ian Cutelaba versus Ibo Aslan. Last time we saw Ibo Aslan, he was knocking out Rafael Sequeira. Sequeira is starting off this night fighting first on the prelims, and that was a first-round knockout. I might be wrong about that. It didn't last long, that much I know. And what did we really learn about Ibo Aslan from that fight? That he hits hard, and he's aggressive. And guess what? That's the same thing Cutelaba is. So this is like two bulls going at it. Who's going to win? Who hits who first? I gotta trust a guy with a neck like that and a chin like that. I'm going with Aslan. And let's just hope I'm right. As a matter of fact, I would say this fight, Cutelaba versus Aslan, safe bet. I know we're not in the betting segment, but I would say the exact method of victory for this fight is to pick that it ends by knockout. And I would actually pair that, make a 2-pick parlay with this fight. I actually think that's a safe bet. I mean, Alonzo Menafield is explosive, taking on the newcomer, Julius Juicebox Walker. The tail of the tape Juicebox has a 6-0 record. Again, not much I have on him. I know he's an ex-basketball player. I know from looking at these stats, he's 12 years younger. He's got a 4-inch height advantage, a 5-inch reach advantage. Everything looks good on paper. And plus, you're fighting Menafield, who has been knocked out his last 2 fights. We all saw what happened with Olberg, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to just run out and, get in a brawl with Walker. I do feel like this fight ends by knockout. I'm picking the newcomer. The one newcomer I'm picking on the night. I'm going with the juice box. On to the Lord Assassin himself, Gene Silva, taking on Melsik Bagdasaryan. And do we even need to see the tail of the tape? The Lord Assassin. No, you're not the Lord. I know he shortened his nickname, but I still remember your original nickname, brother. You are the Lord Assassin. And do I even have to look at these stats? No, I don't. Melsik, the gun, Bagdasaryan. You're going to need a gun to take out my dog. This is Gene Silva here. And if Gene doesn't win by knockout, I would be surprised. Maybe a double chance. Gene wins by knockout or decision, I think, is probably the safest bet and the lock of the night. I mean, look, he's got a lock right there on his chest. You even get out of here. Get out of here, Melsik. You ain't got a chance. Rob Font taking on Gene Matsumoto. This is an interesting matchup. We all know Gene Matsumoto is 16-0 thus far. And Rob Font, if anyone's going to spoil and put an L in Gene Matsumoto's record, it would be Rob Font, the crafty veteran. We all saw that fight with Katona. Matsumoto was getting touched by Brad Katona. If he was getting touched by Brad Katona, he can most definitely get touched by the crafty vet Rob Font, who I will remind you, in his last outing, took out Kyler Phillips, the Matrix. That was 3 months, 3 weeks ago, so it should still be fresh in mind. And believe me, I was very tempted to pick Rob Font as a dog on this, but I'm going to go with Gene Matsumoto to get it done. Brendan Allen, all-in Allen against Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, the rematch from 7 years ago. I don't think this one's going to look anything like that one. Both of these guys have evolved their games in tremendous ways. Brendan Allen always comes out strong in that first round. We shall see if that's the case again. Even if he does, I think Fluffy got what it takes to get most likely a decision win in this co-main event rematch. I'm going Fluffy. That's my pick. And for the main event, I went back and forth on this one all week. More than a week I've been going back and forth on this one. Triple cringe Henry Cejudo himself taking on Song Yadong. And we should all know what the method of victory for Henry is. He's going to spam the wrestling, and it all comes down to whether Song has good takedown defense against all of those takedown attempts that we already know Henry's coming with. Henry on a 2-fight losing skid, but remember, that was a loss to Marab, the Machine, and Aljo, and these are two very different styles than what Song Yadong brings to the table. And that's why this makes this such a hard fight to predict, because we don't have any intel on any recent fights Henry's had against someone even remotely close to having a style like Song Yadong's. Song, his last fight was a loss, a unanimous decision to Peter Yan. That was, Yan, come on, Peter Yan is a great fighter. And yeah, I know there's people that said, well, Yan could take Song down, so then, why couldn't the Olympic gold medalist do that all night long? And that is a valid question, but you have to remember these are two very different styles. Yan is a great all-around fighter, whereas Henry, we all know what he's going to be coming with, and Song should be ready to defend takedowns, and I'm pretty sure his coaching team has prepared him. I do believe Song Yadong is ready to get this victory and move up in the rankings, and I think Henry is ready for his second retirement. But believe me, I would not be surprised if Henry Cejudo somehow pulls this off, even at 38 years old. The fact that he is 38 years old and this is a 5-round fight, and he did look gassed the last time we saw Cejudo, is the only reason I'm still going. I'm going to go with Song Yadong to get it done, but we shall see. I'm picking 2 dogs on the night total, but don't be surprised if there's 4 of them. And if there were 4, I would pick Cejudo and I would pick Rob Font, and I'm going to make a donation bet exactly with those 12 guys on it. And speaking of, let's get to the bets. To set off the bets, we're gonna pick my main card, my 12 predictions. I always do that. I always throw a few extra dollars on my 12 pick parlay this week. And I'm gonna also throw in 5 $1 donation bets just in case I'm wrong. Do not sleep on my donation bets. In the very first episode I did here on YouTube, I failed to show you my donation bets, but you can see in the recap I did indeed have a plus 40,000 hit. Go check that out if you want to see what I did with it. For my first official bet on the night, I'm going with a double over 1.5. I am saying that the first 2 matches, Bukauskas and Sakara, Ruzaboyev and McConaughey, both go over 1.5 rounds. I might be a little bit crazy with that bet. Those are some big boys going at it. For my second official bet, I'm going to take Veretennikov on the money line at minus 110. I'm going to take my third official bet as Ricky Simone. I got a lot of faith in Ricky Simone tomorrow night at plus 180. And then for my fourth bet, we're going to do Andre Fili and Melky Costa in a double chance bet. I'm saying Fili to win by decision, Costa to win by sub. And for the fifth and final bet, I am going to take Anthony Hernandez to win by decision at minus 105. Not a whole lot of value on this card when you're looking for bets. You may be wondering, well, why didn't you take Gene Silva by knockout? Well, last time I checked, that was like around minus 500. Absolutely no value in it. Not too sure how I feel about these official bets. I never am. But we're going to find out tomorrow night. Let's go right into the parlay pick of the night. For the parlay pick of the night, I'm going with a 3-pick parlay, and as improbable as it may seem, I am picking 3 fights in a row to end by either a knockout or TKO. I know it may seem like a long shot, but when you look at these matchups, Aslan and Cutelaba, Menefield in the juice box, and the Lord Assassin, believe me, it can happen. At plus 330, this is my parlay pick of the night for tomorrow. Let's see what happens. I'd be very surprised if not even a single one of these matches ended by a knockout. That would be crazy. Let's just wrap this up. Let's put up my official predictions right here on Henry, and let's put my official bets and the parlay pick of the week right here by song on the screen. We're going to see how it goes. I'm not too confident for a third event in a row. I think I need a week off. I think this card is the perfect example of a card I just would have avoided betting on last year, but because I'm doing this experiment till the end of the year, I had to bet on it. That's what I'm doing. We're doing it to the end of the year. Here's a random pitch of Henry getting carried around like a baby just because I said so.